We're live. Are we live? Hi, friends. If you're there, chime in. I am just pulling up my recipe here to do a demo with you today. And it's been a while. Hello, it's Drina saying hi from Vancouver area. Well, actually, it's White Rock, BC. We have a nice sunny day here, but it's still winter, right? It's still cold in many places, and I'm making a pantry soup. I want to show you how to take really staple ingredients that you have in your home, in the pantry, in the garage, and make a really nice soup. Hi, Laura. Nice to see you. And hi, Cheryl from Idaho. Hey, what's it like there? I feel like on the West Coast, we're seeing signs of spring, so we're getting really excited about that, but I know in most areas it's still quite wintry. Yes, and Laura's in Washington State, so yeah, you know, right? We're starting to feel spring. So I haven't been around for a while, and I've had a lot going on. One, I've been doing teacher training for Kundalini Yoga, which wraps up in March, and two, I'm getting ready for the launch of the book, my new book, Drina's Kind Kitchen, which comes out in August, and there's a lot to do with that, and getting my site redone. I'm doing like a reno on the site and coordinating some giveaways for the pre-order of the book, and also I needed a timeout. I had a lot of stuff going on and just kind of needed to take care of me for a little while. So I know you guys get that. We all have been there, right? So but I'm feeling my mojo back, and I want to come on and do some more videos. So today we're doing this pantry soup, and the recipe is in the description. And hi, Anita from Prince George. She's not far away from me. Well, not super close, but in BC. And the recipe's in the link. It's on my site. And I created this soup recipe almost because I thought it was ridiculous to create a recipe for this kind of soup, because this is the kind of soup I throw together so often, and I don't look at what the ingredients are. I just kind of get everything going and, like, you know, think about what flavor components I want to pull in. And so this one is I'd say it's more like herby based. It's not an ethnic kind of soup like sometimes you might make a curry soup or a Thai stew or something like that, or, you know, something like with a Southwest flair. This is very much I guess just using like herbs and some basic seasonings, which are really interchangeable. Whereas when you're doing ethnic cuisine, you kind of have to look into the bases of the spices and the herbs and what you want to pair together, right, to make those flavors work and come alive. And I find this kind of soup you can really like interchange easily. Like if you don't like thyme, you can use oregano. If you don't like you know, some of the vegetables, you can throw in something else. So hi, Laura. Yes, again, Laura. It was a different Laura. Self-care is very important, yes. And I don't know, one day a conversation on that, because I think especially as women in our culture, we take on a lot, we do a lot, we give a lot, and especially when we have children and or we're caring for other people in our lives, it's you know, sometimes you've got to step back and just take care of you a little bit. So let's get into the soup. I've already done some of the chopping. I have chopped I'm going to change the camera angle here now so you guys are looking at the veg and not me. I've chopped the dreaded onions and celery and carrot, and I want to get this into the pot right away so I can start chopping and showing you some other things. And you can use water to saute this, or, you know, I'm using little vegetable stock in the broth, but I also like to use a little white wine. It just adds flavor. And I'm not really a wine drinker. I just haven't been drinking wine for a long time. So what I have left over is what I use for cooking. So, you know, it wouldn't be great to drink anyways, but I like to use it for cooking just to add flavor. And the alcohol burns off when it's cooking, and it just adds like a nice base kind of flavor that you can also get from other, you know, elements when you're cooking. It's just one more thing. It's kind of that umami thing that we always talk about. So we're adding in that and the onion, and then I'll should talk to you about the herbs and spices, and then I'll get this onto the stove. So we're using 2 teaspoons of oregano and a teaspoon of rosemary. Now, if you have fresh herbs, use them and add them a little later in your cooking. Well, rosemary you could really add at the beginning because it's quite hearty. My cat's gonna start meowing now. But more leafy herbs like oregano, thyme, add them like in the last 5 to 10 minutes of cooking, and you'll get more like vibrancy from them. And this is dried rosemary. I quite like dried rosemary. And dried basil. To me, dried basil tastes nothing like fresh basil. Honestly, nothing. But in a soup, it's good. It brings out more flavor, right? And then I have dill seeds in this recipe. Dill seeds, I feel like they're not as common as dill weed, but they should be. They should be the star because they have way more flavor than dried dill weed. I don't mean fresh. Whenever I see dried dill weed, it's really discolored, doesn't have much fragrance, and I really love dried dill seed because it has like concentrated flavor in the seeds. So I have this in the recipe, but today I'm actually going to swap it for fennel seeds. And how much am I using here? It's quite flexible. I mean, I'm going to use almost a teaspoon of fennel seeds. So this is what fennel seeds look like. Can you see that, guys? Ooh, Claudine says, hi from Switzerland. Cool. I love hearing from people like outside of North America. It's so cool. And hi, Mary from West Virginia. So those are fennel seeds. Do you guys use them at all? Like, have you ever used them? So why I like using fennel seeds in this recipe or anything with a legume is they really help with digestibility. True fact. And they pair really nicely. They're also often in like Italian cuisine, like in sausages, even, I know that's not vegan, but vegan sausages have them too. And tomato sauces that are, you know, very traditional Italian flavors, they will include fennel seeds as well. And so fennel seeds, they have that little bit of a licorice flavor, but not as strong as anise. So if you know the anise seeds, not as strong as that. And I'm using that because I'm also adding fennel in the soup, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So what else have I got here? A little bit of salt. I'm not measuring it because you know what, when I cook at home like this, I just really don't enjoy pulling out the measuring spoons. I kind of know what I want to put in there, and I know about how much, and then I adjust as I go. And pepper, let's get that down here again. And some Dijon mustard, which I don't have handy. Hang on. So I know that seems like a strange thing, perhaps, to add to the soup, but if you hate Dijon, then you don't have to. But we're just adding like about 2 teaspoons. And again, it's building flavors. Soups and stews are all about building flavors. So we're gonna get that onto the stove. And with these vegetables, they're very interchangeable, right? So I was saying you can use other vegetables within this soup. So my goal with a recipe like this is to show you that you can use the hearty vegetables that you have on hand. Potatoes, sweet potatoes, winter squash, maybe something like celeriac or cabbage. I don't love cabbage, so I don't often include it in recipes. And I think it makes the soup taste very cabbagey, but you could use it if you want. Fennel bulb, which is I'm going to use today. And then if you want to use other vegetables, like zucchini or bell peppers, you can certainly use things like that. They're not as hard, so you don't have to add them right away. Like when I'm adding the celery and carrot, they need more cooking time, so I'm getting those in right away. All right, so getting that on heat. Now this is a fennel bulb. Have you guys used it? Have you seen it? Who uses fennel bulb? Let me know, because I feel like it's a very under-loved vegetable, underappreciated. I haven't even used it very much for a while. No one's chiming in. Okay, so this is the bulb of the fennel, and this is the part that gets used in cooking. But these fronds here are almost like a fresh herb. Like they're very, especially if it's a really nice fresh one. This one is not getting quite as much flavor, but if you wanted to garnish the finished soup, you could pull off some of these fronds and chop them like, say, dillweed, like the fresh herb. So this is a pretty nice looking fennel bulb. If you see them and they have lots of discoloration like this around it, then skip it. It's not super fresh, but this one is nice, and it's got some firmness and good color. Okay, Cheryl's saying, rarely ever use fennel. So, me too. I don't use it a lot because the kids don't love it especially. But if you love fennel, in my book, Let Them Eat Vegan, that's my book I use fennel the most. And for me, the best ways to use fennel are to roast them. Like chop it up and roast it, get it all like caramelized, and I have a couple of recipes, one with like a balsamic marinade, another with an orange juice, and it really softens down. It becomes almost like when you cook down onions, super soft, and they get caramelized and really sweet. Same thing with fennel. When it's raw, it smells somewhat like licorice. So some people hate licorice and they don't like fennel at all for that reason, but I would say that even if you don't like licorice, if you cook it down, I think you would enjoy it because it has like a sweeter, different flavor. And Tammy's saying, Cheryl's saying she never uses it, rarely uses it, and Tammy's saying she's the only one who eats it in her house. Yeah, puts it in salads raw. Yeah, you can, actually my kale slaw, which a lot of people like that recipe from Let Them Eat Vegan, I use fennel in that and I slice it really fine, like super, super fine, so that you're not biting in huge chunks. Okay, so we're gonna work into the bulb, and I tend to not use this part of the fennel. It's a bit more like porous, spongy, but you know what, I might add some to the soup today because it is a soup and you can really put so much into soups that you wouldn't put like parts of the vegetable you might not normally use, like with celery. Sometimes you can use the very inner part of the celery that isn't so green and so crisp, right? Soups are forgiving. They allow you to use ingredients in that way. So I'm actually going to use that today. Make the best of this fennel bulb and get it in there. And so this is a harder vegetable as well, so I'm going to get this in now with those other items. And if it starts to stick, just add a little bit of water on like a medium-high heat. And we're going to cut into this fennel bulb. So when you cut into it, you get a core that's really tough right there. If you can see that right there. So like sort of a triangular looking center. So that piece is really tough. So I cut that out. It's actually easier to cut it in quarters and do it. So let's do that. Drain them. Let's show them the easier way to do it. There. And so you can see there's the core. I'm just going to cut that out. And if you have any bits on the top that look a little bit, not so fresh, you can just trim that off. And then just chop it like you would another vegetable, like potato or celery, in bite-sized chunks. Which reminds me, I was going to get a potato for this recipe. Maybe I won't now. Okay, I'm getting that in. So this could replace the celery if you want. And if you don't love celery, this would be a great replacement for the celery because celery has, I'd say, a similar texture. And not everyone loves celery. It's obviously very good for us, but a lot of people don't love it, and it is very common in soups. It's, one of the base ingredients usually is celery and carrots and onion in many, many soups. So, all right, and then that's done. Okay, so getting that in. And I'm just going to let that keep cooking. Allow that to soften down. Now I also want to add some garlic, and I didn't add the garlic with the onion because it can burn easily. So you want to get the juices out of the onion, the carrot, the celery, and allow that to cook down, and then add in the garlic a little bit later, like say 7-8 minutes into the cooking, 10 minutes, so that the garlic has some juices to simmer in and isn't going to burn. This burnt garlic is not nice. Let's see if there's any more questions. Hi Deb from Sydney. Hey there. I guess you're starting to move into fall soon, right? Okay, so now I like to add some orange veg to this soup. And I usually add sweet potato, and of course there's carrot in there, but I had some delicata squash, so I'm using that. And I've already peeled it and scooped out the seeds. Hi Raquel from London, Ontario. And I have another one here, so I'm just going to show you how to peel it. Where's my handy dandy peeler? I've got so much mess here. I do not profess to be a clean, organized cook. Just kind of throw things out and then I don't know where they are. Okay, it's here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Okay, I love this little peeler because it goes onto your hand like this. So a lot of people don't know that you can actually peel winter squash. And you can. And delicata is one of those with a thinner rind as well. So you peel down. And when I peel these, I don't get too particular with it. And what I mean is there's grooves that have some rind, and that's okay. Because the delicata squash especially, the rind is my cat going to attack somewhere? I feel like my cat's going to jump up and surprise me any minute. The rind is a lot thinner, and you can actually eat it, right? But I think a lot of people want to peel the rind off because it is slightly fibrous and tough. There, see? So you can peel them anytime like that, and you can do that with any squash, even though the bigger ones are a little bit harder to do, and mostly because they're unruly. They're hard to hold in your hand, but a butternut squash is pretty good for that. You can usually, peel a butternut squash, but say one of those big kabocha or something, they're harder. Okay, and then trim off the ends, and we're going to slice it down the middle. And then we have the seeds. So then get a spoon. I had one here earlier. Yeah, and scrape that out. So I'm not going to do all of this. I'll probably cook some of this up separately just to save time. Just want to show you that. And then you can cut the squash. So let's cut it in half lengthwise, and then we can start working with it. So delicata squash is actually not super hard. Like compared to a carrot, it will cook through a lot quicker. Like I can actually start to put my fingernail into that flesh, whereas a carrot is really hard. So it doesn't need to go in as early as the carrot. Let's get that in. Now with this soup, I was going to add potato, but I'm not going to now. But another thing you could do is if you have leftover grains, you could throw those in. So for instance, if you already have some cooked brown rice or some cooked quinoa, then just, before serving, just to warm it through 5 minutes or so, you could throw in a cup of that. And just really customize it. I mean, it's important to look at what you have around in the fridge. We do this as well as a family. I just want to get this a little bit here. My husband was out at Costco the weekend and stocked up on a bunch of things to make, for easy meals, some vegan ravioli and all those things. But a lot of times when you have the basics around and you've done some batch cooking, then you can really just look at what you have and throw things together. All right, so that is coming up nicely. I'm going to bring that over to show you, but I've got to add my garlic. Do a quick chop of garlic. And I just want to see if I've missed anything. I've got to add some veggie stock and, veggie stock and water. So I usually just crush the garlic clove like that on one side, smash it down, get the end off, and then start chopping. Do you guys have one of those gadgets for garlic? I had one once upon a time. like one of those little things that are supposed to be handy for getting the peels off. But ultimately, I just find it's faster to smash it like that and then give her a chop. Now it does help to have a little bit of salt on your cutting board when you're chopping garlic. And if this were to be a pureed soup, I wouldn't, oh, that was a lot of salt, but that's okay. I didn't put too much in the soup. Yeah, the salt acts as an abrasive on the garlic. A little bit of skin there. And helps you chop it down. But if this was a pureed soup, I've just cut them in half, pop them in the pot because it's going to be pureed up later. There we go. Oops, lost some there. Let me see what else we got here. Oh yeah, okay. All right, gonna get this in and the water. Give that a stir about. Okay. You guys see what it's looking like here? Whoops. See, so it's coming along. Actually smells really, really good. I'm gonna pop that piece back in. See the squash and the carrot and the fennel. Oh, Raquel, the peeler. You know what? A friend gave it to me for Christmas a few years ago. I'm going to look for it on Amazon because I know it's there. And then I'll add the link to the description after in the video. I've had it for years. I've had it for about, I'd say 7-10 years. It still works. Okay, so we've got, I think 2 cups of, look how good I am at measuring that, how I do that. I just let it pour over my hand. But it's soup because, you know, it's flexible. I don't really care. So it's 2 cups of stock, and I use the cubes, bouillon cubes. So let's see, I got those here. Yeah. So I use these little cubes, and there's different ones available. You can just, you know, choose one that you like. Lots of different vegan ones. This one is Harvest Sun. That brand. Yeah, I got that one on sale too. So, and then about 5 cups of water now. So 1, 2. Yeah, I'm running out of water. That's 2.5. I'm not even letting that filter because I'm trying to get it done. Okay, so that's like 5. That's like 5. So there you see, now you've got enough liquid in there, but you can always add more. I like soups to be really hearty and not as much broth. That's just my personal preference, but you can do what you want to do. And then we're adding beans. So how many do I call for in the recipe? In the recipe I call for 2 to 3 cans, yeah. And so what I did here was I used 1 small can of black beans and 1 big can of white beans. You could use chickpeas, you could use kidney beans, pinto beans, you know, whatever you want. You can use lentils, and if you wanted to cook the lentils in the soup, you could do that too. But look at how nice that's looking for color. Look at the, can you see that? All the nice color in there now. But we're not finished. So we also have bay leaf, so we're gonna bring this up to a boil. I gotta get myself some new bay leaves. I think I mentioned that last time. These are sad. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's, I'm going to use a few because they're really tiny. They're like the scraps of the bay leaf. Well, I'm not going to use that one because someone might eat it. And that would be a little unpleasant. Okay, I'm going to add just a tiny bit more water and get it on the stove. So this is going to be brought up to a boil for, you know, as long as it takes to cook the veggies, right? So it depends on what veggies you have on there. I'm going to say, hi Simone from Florida. Oh, too hot for soup. Well, I'm looking forward to spring. Let's say that. Spring is on it. So I'm going to bring it up to a boil and then reduce the heat and let everything cook and simmer. So vegetables that are really soft, like if you wanted to add zucchini, which you totally could. I have some in my dish drainer now. I'd probably let this cook another 5 minutes, then throw in the chopped zucchini. But before I serve the soup, I'm going to add in some kale leaves. And that's what I love to do with soups. I hope you guys kind of have picked up on this from other videos I've done, that when you make a soup like this, you know, especially this kind of flavor, like it depends on what soup it is. But something like this works really well, that you can tear up some kale leaves and add them to the soup just before serving. So literally 3-4 minutes before serving. You don't need to boil it up, you don't need to cook it long. Kale will wilt down, spinach even quicker. So if you're adding spinach, literally stir it in, then serve it straight away. It will wilt in seconds, right, if your soup is hot. Kale takes maybe about minute or two, couple of minutes. So tear up your kale leaves, chop them up, put them in, and then serve it. And then that way the greens stay nice and vibrant green. And then if you want to add fresh herbs like the fennel fronds, you could do that. The other thing I add in this recipe is before serving, I stir in 1 tablespoon of miso, either chickpea miso or you could use a soy-based miso, because it has, again, like this different kind of depth of flavor than just salt. And I add a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. I don't know what, it's crazy, but it kind of heightens the flavors. It's kind of like lemon juice. You could use lemon juice too. So that is the soup. And I'm not going to be able to show you the finished picture because it is, I'll show you from my iPad because it's cooking. But this is, my cat's having a little panic attack now. This is, oh! Gosh, I'm so good at this. Wait, no. Whoop. I'm going to get another picture. So this is from my blog, and the recipe is there. Yep. Goodness gracious. Here we go. Can you see that? Is that showing through? So yeah, that's the finished soup. Lots of color, lots of veg and beans, and it's really, really hearty. We're going to pair it tonight. I picked up some like crusty bread at the store today, and it was on special, and so we'll pair it with that with some nut cheese. Perfect. Dinner's done, right? Delicious. And you'll have leftovers. This is a pretty good soup, well, depending on the size of your family and how much they can eat. This is not going to get us 2 meals. This will get us 1 meal and maybe a lunch or something, like for 2 or 3 people. So that's it. I hope you enjoy the soup, guys. I felt like there was something else I was going to say. Oh, yes. My website, I'm redoing it, and we'll have like the new version, hopefully by the end of March, maybe a little earlier, fingers crossed. And it will have the pre-order page for the new book, which we're going to have lots of prizes and goodies to go along with the pre-order. And I know a lot of you have already pre-ordered, and so you can still benefit, right? If you pre-ordered like back in October when I first mentioned the book, just keep record of where you ordered it and you can enter. So exciting, very exciting. I've got a Blend Tech giveaway, Old Cosmetics giveaway, compliment giveaway, like some really, really great things. Okay, I'll wrap it up there. Hope you enjoy the recipe. And yeah, I'll be back soon, hopefully. Enjoy your day wherever you are, and I send you blessings.